those.
And do you think that's something of value more on a personal basis to y'all with this approach? Or do you think this is like maybe something that's a better consideration in general for a certain reason that maybe I'm missing? Like why somebody would choose to do that? What if that's something that you would recommend people to consider over and above an alternative? If for those people out there who are considering doing something like this.
So I guess the best example that I can give that I've been giving is the journalist Hunter S. Thompson, who is responsible for gonzo journalism, which if you don't know what gonzo journalism is the whole idea that the better part of the story is not so much the story, but your experience with the story. So, when Hunter S. Thompson got his start, it was because he wrote this scathing article on the Kentucky Derby from his viewpoint as a lower middle class person just getting wasted at this affair with all these people at this just drunk rich escapade. And people loved it, not because he went to journalism school and did the, MLA style format of, okay, I went to the Kentucky Derby, they won this races. Like, he had his chance and he made the more interesting story his experience about it. And so he got into the position where he wasn't sure if people wanted to meet him or this personified character, Raoul Duke.
Right.
Yeah. And so
Raoul Duke, that's right.
Right. And so it's really one of those things. It's like some people, like for me, the reason that I really started getting into acting and stuff like this was because I was a very sick kid. My kidney was the wrong shape and my doctor didn't catch it until I was 16 years old. So I was considered this liar and this faker. And I always looked sick and weird because that's just how I looked. And so, when you get, oh, are you tired? You look tired. You look sick every day. Like, it's kind of annoying. But like when you can get up on stage and put on makeup and be this character for an hour and a half, well, people are going to remember you for that character instead of the person that looks sick or looks tired or is kind of exhausted right now. So for me, it's kind of like putting on that upfront. Like, I think you don't necessarily have to go full Bennyfits or SNES to be a character. You can figure out the best ways to personify why people should be watching you play video games and make that your character.
Yeah, sure. I think John Hodgman put it well in oh crap, what was his first book? You know what?
No idea.
He wrote a 3-part almanac, basically of fake facts. And in the first one, he wrote that nothing is more interesting than lies, and for that part, nothing's more true. And I think that's actually it's not exactly what he said, but I think it's an interesting thought that if I tell you a story, you'll buy into that way more than if I just gave you a series of actual facts. So if I tell you a compelling story that you can join in and be a part of and feel like this is now part of my world, that becomes something that's so much easier for you to buy into and to enjoy than if I were to just tell you like, well, Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated and that was the beginning of World War II. No, I mean, like, that's just not going to be as interesting for you. I don't even actually know that that's right. That might be a fake fact.
I think that was World War I.
I realized it as soon as I said it. Like, no, wait a minute. You're thinking World War I. But I mean, that's the sort of thing that, like, people want to buy into this. And I think having actually the question that you were asking was just having a physical thing matter. And I think it actually does. Yeah. Going to TwitchCon, that's the number one thing people will ask is, where's Benny? I want to get a picture with Benny. My first TwitchCon, I was nowhere near Benny. Somebody else had him, and I stayed away from him because it's very much not about me. Not like I don't want to be the center of attention. I'm happy to talk about about how things are done, and I'm happy to kind of be myself. But the stream is all for Benny, like that, because people want that character. So the trouble is that people would see like, oh, they'd see the name tag and they're like, oh, can I get a picture with Benny? I don't have him. I've got to direct you now to somebody else who may be on a completely different floor of the convention center.
Yeah.
So I started carrying him with me. But that's the thing is like people, they want to get their picture with Benny. They want to say like, look, I met this thing. It's a real thing. It's not like it's not just a picture that's on a screen. And that's not to say you can't do that. But some people want that meta layer in their real life, you know? And I think if you can pull that off, you'll make a lot of people very happy.
That is
Absolutely.
interesting.
Like I walked up to Snoop Dogg with the, you know, and it was just awesome. Like being able to give this thing over to Snoop Dogg and have him interact with it. It's wonderful.
Man,
there's something about the tangibility of it, and and then I'm very much upfront. Like I'm a Jim Henson kind of guy. Like I love my creations, but I am not my creation. So it's like I will be happy to tell you how it works and stuff like that. And my fun thing is like whenever anybody asks how it works, before I will tell them, I always ask how they think it works, because it's always fun hearing all the wonderful theories, of how people think it works. And like, none of those people have ever come into my chat when people are asking questions and ruin it for anybody. They just go along with it, and they're happy to know, because they feel like they are then like, oh man, I'm in on this. Like I do know how the magician does his trick, and there's all these other people that their minds are blown by this, but I'm totally in on it. So